Hi, I'm Dr. Tim Coleman of the University of Alabama in Huntsville, and I am going to talk here about poster 176 in the Mesoscale Processes Conference, Lake Effect Snowfall Events over a small lake in northwest Alabama. My co-author is Matthew Anderson of the National Weather Service office in Huntsville, and this is a lot of this work is his original work. I have just been working on it also and updating it and presenting it at this conference to you. So basically, we've had numerous studies on Great Lakes lake effect snow events, but very fewer studies, like Laird 2010, have examined lake effect snow events associated with smaller bodies of water. We've seen it happen on satellite and other things like that. This study will look at two events within about a month of each other that occurred, or just over a month of each other, that occurred downwind of Lake Wheeler, a relatively small, about a mile wide lake on the Tennessee River in northern Alabama. It's a fairly shallow lake. In both cases, these events happen in cold advection regimes, with the wind direction being very near parallel to the lake. And it's good to note that they also occurred during the latter part of the year when lake water temperatures were still relatively warm. The lake gets pretty cold, being shallow, as we move into the January and February time frame. Just a very quick review of lake effect snow. Basically, some of the conditions you need, as Mulholland's soundings show here, a large temperature difference between the cold air and the warmer water. That produces a lot of instability. You can see in these soundings it's adiabatic, a lot of times up nearly to 700 millibars. The rule of thumb is there's a 13 degrees Celsius temperature difference between the water and the 850 millibar air temperature. You need adequate moisture at low levels. If the ambient air is just simply too dry, even the addition of that water vapor from evaporating lake water will not be adequate to produce lake effect snow. You need a sufficient fetch over the lake so you can pick up this moisture and also create these thermally direct circulations that I show there. That is adapted from Bergmeyer et al. 2017. And finally, frictional convergence. This is from the friction paper, the kinematics of how friction affects the boundary layer, by Coleman, Pangel, and Knupp, 2021, and EJSSM. I encourage you to check that article out. But you see here in a northwesterly flow environment, this is Lake Wheeler that you see with the much higher wind speeds. And then as soon as you get to the end of Lake Wheeler, wind speeds drop from 7 to 8 meters per second down more into the 2 to 4 meters per second range, creating frictional convergence and additional lift. Looking at Lake Wheeler itself, real quickly here on Google Earth, the primary fetch distance is about 44 kilometers, and the prime angle for wind to go down that full 44 kilometers is about from 305 degrees. So it's not a giant lake. It's about a mile wide on average. There are a few spots that it's 2 miles wide. And again, about 44 kilometers of good fetch there. So first we're going to look at the more minor event, the 25 December event in 2020. It was late in the day actually on Christmas Eve. So it was early in the UTC day, so to speak, on December 25th. The cold air was already in place here. 2 meter AGL temperatures at Decatur, which is the nearest ASOS to Lake Wheeler. The Huntsville ASOS is actually not that far away either. We're near freezing. The water temperature obtained from the Browns Ferry nuclear plant was 9 degrees Celsius at the surface, and that's all the way down to about 6 meters. So this created a difference in temperature of 8 degrees Celsius between the water and the air, and 21 degrees Celsius between the water and the 850 millibar temperature. So but well above that thumbnail guidance of 13 degrees Celsius. And you see here in the HER sounding from KHSV, a nearly adiabatic lapse rate up to about 790 millibars. So it's very unstable. The average wind direction was 295, which is close to that prime fetch angle of 305. And moisture in the lowest levels was limited, though. The precipitable water in those lowest levels only about 0.30 centimeters. So very limited precipitable water. However, there were some snow showers occurring over the terrain of northeast Alabama, as you can see in the northeastern corner of this picture. And then you see a band of, this is uncalibrated radar QPE. You see a band of additional snow downstream of the lake with that west-northwesterly flow. Snowfall amounts were light with this, but mainly dusting, things like that. But you can definitely see this was also additional, aided by differential friction, not just the thermally direct circulation, because almost all of the snow fell downwind of the lake, actually, a number of kilometers downwind from the lake. The main event we're looking at here is November 30th of 2020. We had cold advection going on here. The cold air mass was moving in. By the time the lake effect snow began after 20Z, temperatures at Decatur were 2 to 3 Celsius. However, again, looking at the HRRR sounding at KHSV, Huntsville, which is just east of the lake, 850 millibar temperatures were near minus 10 Celsius. So this created an adiabatic lapse rate instability, conditional instability, up to about 850 millibars. And the difference in temperature between the water, around 13 Celsius, and the 850 temperature of 10 Celsius is 23 degrees Celsius. So again, plenty for lake effect snow. The wind direction during this time at Decatur varied mainly between 300 and 310, so very close to that prime fetch angle. Looking at the event itself, and again, this is uncalibrated radar QPE, where the amount is filtered out to where the amount is greater than 0.10 inches in liquid. Once again, you see, here we have a cold advection event, some snow falling up there in the northeastern part of Alabama, northeastern part of the picture. But then the only snow south of that is definitely, you can see the obvious lake effect snow band in that area and the yellow ellipse. The yellow dot is roughly the location of Arab, Alabama, which I'll refer back to in a second. But, we had some snow amounts in here of 1 to 2 inches. Mainly it was a half to 1, but I think a few people got about 2. Something that's interesting here, and again, most of this is downwind of the lake, and it did extend quite far downwind of the lake, up to about 40 kilometers. Something interesting, the HRRR model was picking this up several hours in advance. You can see here the lake is indicated, and you see the HRRR was actually predicting over 2 inches of snow well downwind. So it overshot perhaps a little bit on its amounts, but it got the location fairly accurately, with those scattered snow showers in the higher terrain of northeast Alabama also shown in that picture. That last picture references back to that yellow dot, which was down nearly 40 kilometers away southeast of the lake. That is a dog in Arab, Alabama. A photo taken from a photographer, Amber Nelson, courtesy of WHNT TV, shows a dog sitting out in that lake effect snow 40 kilometers southeast of the lake. If you have any questions about this paper, feel free to email me at coleman@nssTC.uah.edu. You can also email my colleague here, Matt Anderson, matt.anderson@noaa.gov. Appreciate you stopping by.